Welcome to Brain Vision.
For this problem on the topic of temperature and heat, we are told that a pendulum clock, which is designed to tick off 1 second on each side-to-side swing of the pendulum, is subject to a temperature change, and we want to know if the pendulum will gain time in hot weather and lose time in cold weather, or the reverse. We're then told that the clock keeps the correct time at 20 degrees Celsius, and the pendulum shaft is made from steel. We want to know the fractional change in the length of the shaft when it is cooled by 10 degrees Celsius, and how many seconds per day will be lost or gained at this loss of 10 degrees Celsius. And lastly, we want to know how closely the temperature needs to be controlled so that the clock cannot gain or lose more than a second a day. Now, in hot weather, the moment of inertia I and the length d for the equation of the period will both increase by the same factor, and so the period will be longer and the clock will run slow. So in hot weather, an increase in the period means that the clock will lose time. Similarly, the clock will do the same and will run fast in cold weather, since the period will be shorter, and so the clock gains time in cold weather. So in part B, we are told that a particular pendulum clock keeps the correct time at 20 degrees Celsius, which is made from steel, and we want to know the fractional change in its length when it is cooled by 10 degrees Celsius. So the fractional change in its length is delta L over L naught. And this is equal to alpha delta T. Now we know alpha, the linear expansion coefficient for steel, is 1.2 times 10 to the minus 5 per Celsius degree times the change in temperature of 10 degrees Celsius, or 10 Celsius degrees. And so we get the ratio of the change in length to the original length to be 1.2 times 10 to the minus 4. So that's the fraction by which the length of the clock will change by a decrease of 10 degrees Celsius. So in the next part of the problem, we want to know how many seconds per day the clock will lose or gain with this change in temperature. So we'll use the pendulum's period as tau, and we have delta tau by tau is equal to a half delta L over L. And we've calculated delta L over L, so this is simply a half of that value, which is 6 times 10 to the minus 5. So the clock will therefore gain 86,400 seconds times 6 times 10 to the minus 5. And so the clock will gain 5.2 seconds every day. Now lastly, for part D, we want to know how we can control the temperature to prevent the clock from losing or gaining more than a second a day. So we know delta tau over tau is equal to a half alpha delta T. And so delta tau over tau is 1 second divided by 86,400 seconds. And so from here we can calculate what the change in temperature needs to be, delta T. and delta T is 2 times alpha for steel, which is 1.2 times 10 to the minus 5 per Celsius degree times a time of 86,400 seconds, all of this to the minus 1. And so calculating, we get the change in temperature to be 1.9 degrees Celsius.